We talked Adam, gardening, nurturing. Now, there's work involved with gardening, and this wasn't even a part of what I was going to, but this is just perfect. This is how God works. So, in gardening, it's not the easiest thing to do. You have to have some type of skill set in order to garden. Okay, so let me give you my example how I grew up. I'm talking about Grandmama and them, okay? Grandmama and them. So Grandma Mills, Pauline Mills from Winterville, actually from Ayden, North Carolina. I used to sit with her. In fact, she used to grab me. And she used to sit me down, got me away from Mama Mills, my mother. And, of course, my father, he was out doing his thing with his brothers and things like that. But when it came down to cooking, Grandma Mills says, "Come on, Pooh Bear. Come on, sit right here," while she was shucking corn. And she would talk to me while she was shucking corn. Like it was secondhand nature, and she was just flowing with it. And I started asking questions. "Well, Grandma, why do you do that?" Well, son, you know. And she would talk me through shucking corn, and then the process of how she made cream corn, from the shucking portion of it to where the milk goes and how much. In fact, she didn't use no measuring. No, she just put it in there, and all the seasoning, all of that in a matter of 45 minutes. But what I didn't realize at the time, she was mentoring. She was putting love in her grandson. Love, but also teaching the power of family. In addition to that, though most of the time in the traditions back then, and she told me this, and she was honest about it. She said, women are in the kitchen to do X, Y, and Z. Men eat first, et cetera, et cetera. And I appreciated that. But she said this as well. We do that for our family, son, but you respect your spouse. You respect women. Don't ever take that for granted. I'm going somewhere with this. So the process just didn't stop with the cooking portion. It was also a dialogue between a man and a woman. I was a young man at that time, but she spoke to me in a way where it resonated, and I still use those things that she's taught me today. I may not have understood at the time what she was teaching me or telling me, but what she was saying, "I love you, son. I'm looking you in your eyes. I'm sitting with you while I'm shucking corn, taking you through the process on how to cook cream corn, but at the same time, I want to put the love of God in you as well." And that respect. It wasn't something that was just done haphazardly. Going over this, son. This is a dog conversation. This is not a pup conversation. Go on, sit down, and I'll teach you later. No, nothing like that. So, I want to talk about, because I know how many folks, they like football fans in here. Football fans? Yeah, you all right? You got your favorite team, Philadelphia, Washington? But nobody likes Philadelphia? Okay, all right. All right. So, I'm going to use this analogy. So this is how I like to work this. So I'm going to set the stage before I present, and I want to have you all watch a video, okay, after I kind of set the stage. And then after you watch the video, then we're going to break it up into parts and talk about what you've actually seen in the video. What do you see, and how that resonates in answering the question, "Where art thou?" with how we move forward. How are you watering your garden? Do you understand what's in your garden? Do you understand? Yes, I'm making an attempt to grow tomatoes, but yet I've got a garden filled with lilies. Sir, you got fresh collard greens. You got fresh collard greens, but you're trying to grow tomatoes. But the point, yes, sir. But the point, you can't put those two together. But you're trying to grow it, but you got a different type of garden going on right now. That's the reality that Bishop is talking about. We've got a garden of collard greens, but yeah, we're trying to talk to tomatoes. We're looking at the problem wrong. We're not leaning enough on who Christ is, and we don't trust him enough through faith to get us where we need to go. Are we on the same street right now, my brothers? We all right? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to set the stage for you. I mean, this wonderful movie called Facing the Giants. Christian movie, Facing the Giants. What's it about? Anybody ever heard that movie before? Facing the Giants? Yeah, sure. Facing the Giants. So, you know, in Facing the Giants, I'm gonna make, in 2 minutes, here you go. It's about this gentleman. He's a coach, a football coach. He's a football coach, but he's in a losing season. Yeah. He's in a losing season, and it's like, wow, he's using the same playbook that he's been using for years. But yet, he's also got some issues with his family. He's trying to have a child. He's trying to, with his wife, and they've been working it, and nothing's happening. She feels like she's not doing what she needs to do for him as well as the family in order to build that, you know, the male ego thing. She wants to satisfy that, but yet it's not happening. So he sees the disappointment in her face. He feels as if he has failed. So he's got a losing season. And then when he goes back to his coaches, in one instance, here you go, he rolls back and they're talking about him. Yeah. You know how it is. He said this. He ain't nothing. You know, we need to fire him. He walks in on that. So he's dealing with the home. He's dealing with a losing season. He's on the cusp right now of being fired. And those so-called friends that he thought he had, they're talking about him right now. So one evening, he walks in the hallways, and there's this gentleman, the janitor, in fact, a lowly individual. He taps Coach. He said, "Coach, how you doing?" Pretty rough season, isn't it? He's like, "Yeah, it's just rough." I'm doing crib notes here. Okay, it's rough. Yeah. He said, Are you getting after the right problem? Do you think? Look to the Lord. Look to the Lord. And the janitor went doing his thing. And when the janitor walked off, he's quiet. He doesn't say much of anything, but that struck him. He's looking at the problem in the wrong lens. So he says, I'm going to lean on the Lord for all the rest of my problems. So he talks to the kids. He starts ministering to them. He doesn't know whether they know God or not. He didn't know. He knew the families, but he didn't know, or he never asked the question if they knew the Lord. So he started using the language. Hey, do you think this is all about football? He started changing his lens after he took the Lord for guidance. Having faith that though I may not be able to have a child, but Lord, I still trust in you. You can make this happen. So he's going through that process of finding, where art thou? Where art thou? That's a question we should be asking ourselves every day. But do we truly ask ourselves, do we truly look at the problems that we face in front of us so that we take accountability? Ouch. We take responsibility and accountability for where we're at and then take hold of it. So I want to share with you at this time in this brief video, and we'll look at it, about how a man takes responsibility of the problems that we're facing in front of us and not just talking about it and just waving through it and saying it's just going to go away. He knew where he was. He knew where he sat and what the accountability was and what he had to do, which was lean on the Lord. So at this time, for those that have smartphones, Brother D, I'm going to call you Brother D. Brother D, he's going to hand, who does not know how to use QR codes? I know Bishop said he doesn't. So if you could help him out with that. So for those that don't have it, I'm going to go around and help as well. I got you. So for those that need help after, let me help you pass all those out. If you would, please, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. So once you receive the QR code, and if you need help, then we'll come by to make sure that you receive assistance. For those that don't have a phone, please get next to someone to make sure that you're able to see the video. Okay. All right. Yes. in order to get to the QR code. So, oh, okay. But you need to probably watch the piece so we get through. Okay, you good? All right. Okay, who else needs assistance with the QR code? And I want to make sure we sit by our dear brother who can't see, so he can at least hear. Okay, Deacon Han, you need some assistance? You need help? Okay. Okay, he needs assistance. Yes, ma'am. Let me borrow one of those. We're going to do a class on QR codes here. Okay, go to your camera. There we go. Okay, click on that. Anybody else? You good? Put it on your camera. Your camera. Tap on that. Tap on the picture. Anybody else need any help? Okay, how we doing? Everybody about finished? I know you good, Brother D? Okay. Okay. If you could just pause your videos for just 1 second. So I'm gonna. I heard a lot of oohs and ahs and going on while watching the video. So initially, tell me how did that make you feel? Anyone speak out? How did it make you feel? Positive encouragement. Yeah. Come on, talk to me. Not giving up. What else? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Pastor Jordan. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bishop, thoughts? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Power. Power, sir.
Maybe if he could have seen where he was going, then he wouldn't have been so encouraged to go there if he could see it. But he couldn't see it. He didn't know where he was going, but he just kept going from the fellow talking to him and encouraging him. Yeah. He couldn't physically see, but he had more strength.
More strength.
I think he had more strength by not being able to see the distance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, that's okay.
I think being blindfolded did a lot in that if you look at the magnitude of the distance, 100 yards, versus trusting what you can do, he didn't give up because he didn't realize he had went 100 yards because he focused on the task at hand.
Let me tell you, it's hard to trust, to be walked into a wall, to step off a curve the wrong way, to reach for a step that is not there, to spill a hot drink on you. Trusting is a major factor in that blindness. So you gotta believe in the person that's encouraging you. All right. And that person that is encouraging you has to be true, and factual in what they're doing. Yeah.
Come on.
That trust, boy. Woo, Lord.
All right, so let's get, so there's a lot of excitement going on here right now. Okay, I got you where I want you. I got you where I want you. You can keep that for right now, my good brother. So let's talk about the beginning. So who were the characters, the initial characters we saw there? Who were the initial characters? We had who? The coach, right? And then who was the young man? His name was Brock, right? Brock. Okay, so I told you where the coach is at right now. He had his lens open, right? He's like, I got to change the way I'm thinking about things. So when they asked a question about, actually the players were talking. Brock, we know who we're playing, and what happened when Brock, when the team was mentioned who they were playing, what did he say? We already lost. Already lost. And then the coach did what? Nope. What did he do right after he said that? And if you need to go back and look at it, do that. But he said, he started laughing, right? Brock started laughing. We already lost. I mean, what are we going to do? We're already losing season. We already lost. And then the coach did what? He ain't played the game yet. They ain't played yet. And if he did not catch it, Brock is the senior on the team. He's a senior. So that it needed some type of leadership associated with that. So Brock laughs. I'll lose anyway. Coach says, oh, we ain't played the game yet. So you already lost in your mind? And Brock comes back with, she lost to him before. I mean, last year. What are you talking about? We don't lose. We're losing now. So the coach does what after that? He said, come here, Jimmy. Come here. No, come here, Brock. Come here, Brock. He says, and he asked, what of Brock? To give your best. I'm asking you to give your best. And Brock says, okay, I'll give my best. And he says it again, doesn't he? The coach. He says, your very best. Your very best. Isn't that what God is asking us to do? There is a relationship that's going on right now. He himself has he, the coach, has challenged himself. Now he says, wait a minute. The culture of my team is ambient of the way that I was walking around and looking. I'm walking around beat, disgusted, lost. The team sees it in me. So they are going to feel the same way. I got to change my lens. I got to change my attitude. I got to change the way that I'm looking at the problem. Yeah. So that's what he does. Brock, your very best. He says, okay. And then he takes out the handkerchief. Right? Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, and I want you to do the death crawl. Can you give me 10 yards? Can you give me 20 yards? He says, I think you can give me 40. That's what the coach tells Brock. Is that not correct? Somewhere around there. There's a discussion. There's a relationship. He's trying to change the culture, but he's looking at him directly at that time. He's coaching. He's guiding. He's releasing something to the young man that feels lost. You can give me 40. And guess what? I think I'm going to let you do it blindfolded. You going to blindfold me? Yes, I'm going to blindfold you. So what happens after that? Now, let me ask you this. As all this is going on, did you catch what was going on with the rest of the team while that dialogue was going on? What was going on? What were they doing? And what else were they doing? Well, before then. At first, sir. Yes, sir. So, but at first, they were laughing, weren't they? They were laughing, it's funny, yeah, he'd go 20. They're laughing and joking. So, the process of guidance and change begins. The death crawl begins. The coach is walking upright beside him, beginning this, isn't he? Come on, Brock. Yeah. Come on, Brock. Encouraging him. Come on, let's go. He's like, okay, he's all right. And he's got, guess what? Brock's got somebody on his back named Jeremy, right? Yeah. So he's got Jeremy on his back. He's blindfolded. He doesn't know where he's going, but the coach is walking right beside him. Yeah. And guess what the rest of the team's still doing? Laughing, joking. Yeah. Even the coaches. The death crawl continues. Yeah. Coach is standing up. Come on, Brock. Brock said, I'm getting tired. No, come on, Brock. You said your very best. The death crawl continues. For those that have played sports before, probably, you've been through something like this. Come on, Brock. It burns. It hurts. Yeah. You said your very best. That's what he said. And if you look at the rest of the team at this particular point in the video, there wasn't no laughing. They're looking, as Bishop discussed and said, the dynamics started to change. And at that point, your very best coach gets down with him. Yes, in his ear. You said your very best. Come on, Brock, it burns, it hurts. No, you said your very best. He's pounding on the gridiron being the football field. He's pounding, he's yelling, but not in a way that hurts, but in a way that's kind of uplifting. He's caring. He wants to carry this man beyond what he thinks he can do. But he's right down there with him. I see this problem. As the coach, you are a leader. You are my leader. You're the senior. I need you. Just like Jesus said he needs us when we're here. Your very best. They continue forward. And guess what? The rest of the team. He gets to the goal line. He doesn't know it. Take off the handkerchief, Brock. You're in the end zone. The death crawl, full football field, for those ever? Brock looks, he's looking like, oh my God. And you got a 140-pound dude on your back. And Jeremy says, Coach. And the coach says, what, Jeremy? I weigh 160. $20 more pounds. Yeah, you think I get all that out of a short video. Yeah. The message. We are all going to have our death crawl moments. Each and every one of us. What we have been discussing here after that wonderful message by Reverend Godfrey, we're trying to find out where art thou. That's the question. But we've got to be looking at it in the right lens. We can't be looking at it in the same lens that we've been looking at it. Sir.
I will also answer the question from my perspective as a leader, but my question to the leadership, those in leadership of this church, what percentage do you think of your congregation is giving their very best? What percentage would you think your congregation, as a leader of your church and being tuned into them, is giving their very best to ministry? Leaders? That's from the pastor. Anyone else? I would say from my perspective, if I get 5%, that's high. When you talk about being stretched and get your very best, Jim Mullins wrote a book, From Good to Great, and how good can be the enemy of great. That's part of the problem, is that we don't have people committed to being and doing their very best. That's part of the problem. And then we have leaders who celebrate that and whitewash it as it being okay when it's not okay. If I have 5%, and I'll do this, I'll put 5% throughout the whole ministry, but I certainly would say 5% in New Way, that I can say giving their very best. And that 5% is because I push so hard. That's a problem. Especially when we're worshiping a God who gave his son, and his son gave his life. And the church, I'm talking about your very best now, where you're sacrificing. The good singers in our church, they don't rehearse hard. They're not anointed. I already told them. They're good enough, they can sound good without working hard, so they don't work hard. So now I put in something to make them work harder. So if I got 5%, it's a lot. That's a situation that has to be addressed to get more out of people for kingdom building by seriously critiquing what we're doing and facing up and taking responsibility that in many instances the leadership, I will go as far as saying not giving their very best, so you can't really get your members to do the very best because you ain't doing your very best. And then you're celebrating it. That's a problem.
Thank you, Bishop. So, yeah, going back to the death crawl of life. Okay. Bishop's talking about accountability. Pastor Jordan's been talking about accountability. Look, I bounce around between most of the churches. I see Bishop jumping on chairs, doing all kind of stuff. Pastor Jordan's down there sweating, giving all she can. And yet, we can't see a vision. They talk about it. No one's putting the work. We got to put the work in. Not just that talk. No. I forgot, Bishop, you used terminology, something that you can't have a, church of convenience. I think you used that language. We doing things, I'm going to go to this meet, but I can only stay an hour. Or we used to, this is why we've been doing it in the past. With this kind of stuff we're talking about, my brothers, and I'm here with it, I'm going to get right down on the ground with you. But we got to do the work. But what has to happen, there's got to be a spark, and maybe that spark in the coach is this room here.
Absolutely.
This room here, so that when folks say, man, this is how we've been doing it a long time. It's got to start here. We walk in front with the vision, the guidance, with the tenacity. Even in the pain, it burns. It hurts being a leader. And I've said this before. You ain't leading. A leader is someone who is in a perpetual state of uncomfortability. Perpetual. Perpetual. Always uncomfortable. Always something going on. Always something happening in your head. Struggling with it. If you want, I say this, Bishop, I say this. If you want the job or the responsibility, okay, yeah, you want to be director of so-and-so, reverend so-and-so, leader of so-and-so. It's good to have the title, but you got to do the responsibility, accountability that comes with it. I'm talking to myself too. And that responsibility involves work. That goes beyond, I work 9 to 5, I did all I can there. No, you bring that same tenacity to the church. Sir.
And I just wanted to say to myself and my leadership role here at the Church House of Ministries and worldwide, I give and this not patting me on the shoulder or nothing, but since we're going to be real, I gives my heart and I gives my soul to what I do here. I goes out and I call the men of this church, and we goes out in the woods and feed homeless people that we don't know. I call Pastor Jordan and I get information from her how to do this and how to do that. I even call Bishop from time to time and talk to him. I'm just letting you know that I take my life and my walk, I take it very serious. And I know for a fact that we can do better, but we got to learn how to be followers. And we got to learn how to do what God will have us to do. What we talking about doing now, is it hard? No. Why it ain't hard? Because all we got to do is make an effort together and stand together. But I just wanted to let you know I take my ministry very, very serious. And I take the men in this church very, very serious. I go to the hospital in the middle of the night and I do anything I can do for anybody. And that ain't just because I just got here. It's because that's the way God have raised me up to be. And I want y'all to know, hallelujah, that we got a administrator and we got a bishop who will help us do anything we need to do. And I want to let you know right now, we got to give up. We got to give out, and we got to let go and quit thinking about us and do what we need to do. If we want men in this church, or we want men to be with us, we got to reach out there and go get them. Go through the walls and get them. That's what we got to do. But I take my ministry serious. I don't think there's a man in here that I hadn't called and encouraged and asked them to pray for me. I called Bishop and Pastor Jordan. I have called Brother Mills. Pray for me. I'm going out here feeding people, 30 and 40, 50 people, saints of God, by myself. But that wasn't wisdom. But Pastor Jordan told me, say, take somebody with you. But I was feeding them. I just wanted to let y'all know that we can do this. And I am a great leader and trying to be a better leader to the body of Christ.
Now, I want to say this. Considering Pastor Bruce and also Deacon Washington, I want to be clear on this. That's why I gave the rating to these two guys with their faithfulness. That's why you got all the way up to 5%. If I took them out, the percentage might be lower. Because we can say, how many Reverend Bruces do we have? How many Deacon Washingtons do we have? You know, that will say their very, very best. And another thing, we've got to be careful about how we overrate ourselves. See, I'm always evolving. I think I'm a mediocre leader now. I think and I'm working much harder now and get better and get better. But trust me, there's a spirit of convenience in the church, and there are people who are sliding by, and there are leaders that are not on the ground saying your very best. And we're not setting the example of this. We need more. I'm gonna conclude with a lot of what I've got to say because I'd rather just sit in. What's happening in this ministry and what's happening in New Way, it shouldn't happen. New Way shouldn't be looking like New Way is. Shouldn't be doing what it's doing. Shouldn't be almost paid off $2.5 million. Shouldn't do it. Shouldn't be touching their lives because of where we located. But it's because we had some people who did give their very best and a leader who did stretch. But let me say, let's not play with ourselves. In this church right here, you have a spirit and New Way of convenience, a spirit to do enough to get by and not give me your very best. Your very best. So when I'm going to say to Pastor Bruce and to Deacon Washington, who's one of the hardest working faithful men in our church, y'all helped got to score up to 5%. That's just the bottom line, and I help a little bit to get to the 5%. And if we don't have leaders saying and organizing and that this is what can be done, and on top of things, you can't slide in this church 2 hours or slide in the New Way 2 hours a week and get the very best. I can't do that. I can't put a sermon on the fly, on the run. I got to reach deep, man. I've got to show an example. And it's not happening. And it's not happening to a great degree in the Christian world. And it's not happening, we don't have but so many Bruces. But we need more Bruces because the people that Pastor Bruce can touch may not be the ones that Colonel Mills can touch, may not be that Godfrey can touch. You can't just show, no. When you talk about your very best, let's not overestimate ourselves. The best thing we can do is give ourselves a lower grade rather than a higher grade. Because when you start giving yourself too high a grade, it's gonna diminish your ability to press. I'm gonna give you on a scale of 1 to 10, I may think I'm at about a 4 or 5 leader now. So that keeps me hungry to get better.
And we'll go to Reverend Godfrey, then I'm gonna close everything out out of due respect of the time that we have.
That was a very powerful video, but the one thing I saw in that video that hurts me is that that football player, if I had to carry somebody on my back, I'd pick this young man here because he's the lightest. We've got to look at what loads we're carrying and what we're willing to do. Anybody can take that football field, most of us with nothing on our backs. But are we willing to pick someone up and drag them along the way? If we're not willing to pick up a load, and Jesus picked up a cross and took it all the way to Calvary, he carried that load, not for his sake, he carried it for our sake. What are we willing to pick up to get to the goal or the finish line?
So there you have. I use that a lot in that video in very different settings. So for one, let's give you all a round of applause. This was beautiful. But here we go. I'm gonna get ready to close out the decant real quick. Okay.
Well, we got to get back into we got to start visiting the hospital and the nursing home. Because a lot of times people be there, don't have a church home. We got to show our face. We got to show our love. And we got to tell them about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who paid the price for us. You know what I mean? We got to start doing it. But we used to do that, but we're not doing it now.
See, now Deacon Hanson is right on the money. Not only that, we have a facility here that's second to none. We've got children. We know what young people like. We know they like sport. We know they have activities. We have to develop and work hard. We got to get back to doing this. I mean, you know, I know about being in the community. You got to do it, and it's not easy. And you have to organize, and you have to look at the dark truths of your ministry to make it better. And when you're lax, you can't call lax, and it's good. And when it's okay, you can't call it great. It is what it is. And if we're going to make it different, we have to do it consciously. Thank you all for allowing me to be here. I ain't coming back anytime soon. I'll be back.
Bishop, give us 5 minutes and 6 seconds. Don't leave yet, please, sir. I am. Come on.
So here we go. So I'm gonna close this at these things here. That you heard Bishop. He's the coach. He serves as a coach in this. He's telling us where he thinks he's saying I'm a 4, 5 leader. So I need to make some adjustments. We all need to do the same. And then at that, there's an entire team. The coach got down on the ground, okay? He put extra on Brock's back to teach everyone that we can carry more. We can do this, but as long, and he blindfolded him because of faith. It's something greater than yourself in order to push you forward. But they did it together. There was a conversation between Brock and the coach that affected the entire team and the culture. My brothers, we can do that as long as we have faith. We can do this, but we've got to put in the work, and we have to carry more on our backs. So thank you, my brothers. I hope that this was very good for you as you move forward, and let's use this as a charge, in change. Okay.
I want to thank Colonel Mills again for the workshop, for the presentations. I want to thank you guys for your participation and your comments. We're going to wrap it up. Reverend Bruce is going to come and give some presentations, and he'll give us a benediction. Once again, I appreciate Reverend Bruce for picking me to preside. Hopefully I didn't do too bad.
Praise God.